think anybody can hear us. Rumpasai is taking the floor right now.
Okay, let's kill the rumple. There,
Wow.
Rumpasai gone.
So, Rumpasai is good. We might want to tone him down though. He's a bit loud.
Okay.
So, how's the morning to you, or the afternoon?
Let me see. This afternoon's non-sponsor is Conan Ludwig Weissbier. There you go.
Ah, okay. Hey, I
German,
found one.
German Weissbier. Yeah.
German Weissbier. I found one. And it's this one. You remember that?
I can see.
It's
is
the
that from
Oak
our
Creek
Sedona guys?
Brewery from Sedona. The Hefeweizen one. The Hefeweizen. I forget what they call it.
Hefeweizen. Nice,
this is a
nice,
really good
nice,
one.
nice.
Hefeweizen.
Brewed with crystals and
and Wise Old Bastard.
yeah.
Beer Hunters International. I got my koozie.
Nice.
That's damn good beer.
Well,
damn
cheers,
good
everybody.
Beer. So shout out to Oak Creek Brewery. Cheers. Happy Saturday. Happy weekend. Happy weekend. Enjoy the weekend. I started out with coffee.
Happy weekend.
And put a little Mexican coffee in it.
Let's do
Yeah.
Let's do
You ever have Mexican coffee?
We'll do a shout out to Konigslick. Oh yes. Oh yes. What's the
Make
Mexican
sure they pay us,
coffee
for the shout out?
Yeah, the Kahlua, right?
It was taught to me by my tio in Alpine, Texas. And basically, I was sitting there having coffee with him, and he goes, wait. Grabbed a bottle of mezcal and just, it's like, holy shit. He goes, coffee mexicano. It's like, oh yeah. So I had some Mexican coffee today with a little bit of mezcal. We have to get some more when we're down in Mexico the next time. That's when January, I believe, we'll be down there.
Yep.
So we'll get that going. Some Mexican coffee. Kickstart your weekend.
Yeah, Mexican coffee is not Kahlua, which most people believe, right? The coffee flavored liqueur. That ain't it.
No,
that ain't it.
No. It's actually tequila, and the best is mezcal. Has that little smoky flavor. Ooh, it's good. In the thing when it gets in your coffee, really nice. Very, very mellow and nice. Nice way to start your day, but not every day. Okay.
Does it have to be a good coffee, or can it make a crappy coffee taste good?
Oh, it makes a crappy coffee amazing.
There you go.
Depends how much mezcal you put in it.
There you go. Wise old bastards.
I usually
giving
just
you
try
more
and put a shot or
tips.
so, but there you go. If you have lousy coffee, throw some mezcal in it. It's good.
Save money, buy cheap coffee. There you go.
Yeah. So today we're going to talk about a different topic, right? I have a kid that's would be called a millennial, and he was asking me, why don't you talk about what's going on with the younger generation? And since we're the old bastards, it's about time we talk about the younger ones, because we're wise old bastards who support and give advice to the younger ones. So what kind of advice and what's going on with these generational gaps, the generations?
Well,
you looked it up earlier.
Yep. For the first time ever, I've done some research on a Wise Old Bastards episode.
Wow.
First time ever.
Wow.
And in terms of possibly still living, maybe 3 or 4 guys left, and then living generations, so not going back 10,000 years. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 main generations. I'll just read them off really quickly first, and we'll go back.
Okay.
Right? So people born in 1901 okay. People born 1901 to 1927 were called the greatest generation.
Really?
The greatest generation, yeah. So these are guys who they basically, this is the guys who were like adults during World War II and the rebuilding after. And this is obviously from a Western
and World War I,
point of view. Well, they would have been
Yeah.
born. Yeah, some of those guys might have been stuck in World War One.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah. Might be a
Again,
few.
remember this is
But
from
most of
a
those are not
distinctly
surviving,
Western
that's for
point of
sure.
view, right? This is not
Mm.
this is not what the Chinese would say. I don't think. I don't know. Actually, that's an interesting point.
I don't think
Whether
so.
other countries
Yeah.
call them Gen Zs or not. Anyway, the next cohort was
Yeah, good point.
1928 to 1945. They were born. They were called the Silent Generation,
Okay.
and that's the interesting
Silent.
part.
Why so silent?
No, it's the interesting thing because they like the guys who went through World War II, then the rebuilding, were quite happy to still be alive and vibrant and one, and
Yeah.
they're making all kinds of noise, right? The Silent Generation are
Hmm.
people who were like basically born during the Great Depression, so they were through the Depression when they were kids, and
Oh,
when they
yeah.
were adults, it was
So they
tail end of World War II, but the Korean War as well. But
Kind
what's
of
interesting
recovery.
about these guys is they're
Hmm.
actually considered to be the
Mhm.
happiest generation alive. Interesting.
because they were
So the-
silent. I mean, come on, they
Didn't
were
waste-
through the depression. That's depressing. That's in the name.
Yeah, but
How
they're not
can
there
they
now.
be so happy? I
'Cause they're
don't
not
think
there
the
now.
depression was a lot of happy people running around. There were
Yeah,
people
yeah, but
jumping off buildings back then.
Yeah, but those were the sad bastards, and they're gone. The guys who were left aren't in the depression anymore. They're happy now.
yeah. Was it?
Then you've got the
Wow.
what I
I
believe should be
believe that
called
one,
the
okay.
greatest generation, the fantasticest generation, is the baby boomers.
Yeah.
Born
Yeah.
in 1946 to
Yeah.
1964.
Hooray.
They're the best. Shout out
Wow.
to baby boomers
Yeah,
everywhere.
that's
Yeah.
where we are. We're following that part. Yeah, baby boomers.
All it means is our parents lived through the war and
Hmm.
had a lot of sex. But anyway, that's why we're here. So
Yeah,
The,
exactly. Rebuilding the population. So, I mean,
Here's-
actually, the parents part is really helping the world. Huh?
Yeah.
Doing all that
a
sex.
few little interesting snippets about that whole cohort. Currently in the United States, anyway, it's 21% of the population falls into the
Mhm.
baby boomers, but nearly 50% of all the elected
yeah.
officials in the states. So less than a quarter of the population are that age,
Really?
but almost half of elected officials are in that age group. Plus, then you have in the American
Interesting.
politics, you have people from the greatest generation, I think, still hanging around in office now.
A
a
few,
few of
yeah,
those
yeah. There's a couple of those.
So the baby
some of those
boomers,
need to retire, though. That's true.
yeah. So the baby boomers have
Uh-huh.
outsized influence based on how many there are. They're the richest generation so
Yeah.
far, and they will have big
Okay.
effects on politics for aging and healthcare, retirement, stuff like that, right? Because there's like, hey, it's my time to start taking now. So
Well, right now, yeah. Yeah, exactly. But
And,
healthcare doesn't give. They just give a lot of shit and huge bills.
so the
You
the
don't want to get
next-
sick
yeah, but
anymore. That's a problem.
Yeah. Then from 65 to 80 is called that's Generation X. Interesting about that is
Yeah, Gen
from,
X, yeah.
from the Boomer
That's,
generation, we often started looking at those guys as slackers and things.
Mm-hmm.
But what some studies say,
Yeah.
that generation cared less about getting to the top or into the upper crust of society. So we call them slackers, but they say no, they just
Okay.
have a different definition of success. Yeah,
Okay.
They grew up
Interesting.
just around when the dot-com bubble and then crash, right? So
Yeah.
they had they had like money issues, but they've rebounded nicely, and that's currently the generation most likely to be able to afford a house. Which I don't know how that jives with saying the boomers are the richest,
Okay.
but the Gen X can
That's a good
afford a
point.
house and boomers can't.
Well, boomers
understand.
mostly already have houses and stuff, of course. I
I
mean,
guess that's it.
because we lived earlier. So
We
when
lived
housing was
earlier.
more affordable and developing.
What's your claim to fame? I lived before you, man. I was okay. Then we get to the millennials, which is 81 to 96. All right. Now, interesting. I never really thought much about this, but those guys, they grew up their defining moments were like 9/11 and then the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. And they were the first generation to start experiencing serious polarization in American politics based on 9/11, Afghanistan war,
Okay.
Iraq war happening. So they were the first ones to start experiencing this. So before that, apparently everybody was like all pulling together and just USA, USA, didn't care. Now, then it started getting people who had different views on it, I guess. Then you get into the Gen Zs, 1997 to 2012. That's the first generation that grew up with the internet and with phones, right? So they're the first digital natives. For them, online is like that's as real as offline. Yeah. But interestingly, okay, so this is the first generation that grew up on the internet. First generation is digitally native. It's also the generation that has the least positive outlook on the future and has the highest percentage of mental illness.
With the internet. They grew up with access to everything. I mean, information age is transitioning between Gen X to Gen Z, and Gen Z really just they grew up everything. They had probably iPhones in their cradles at that time. So basically, they can't live without it. You know, we had a telephone.
You had a telephone?
With a wire.
Yeah. You guys must have been rich. You had a phone. Wow.
No. But remember, we used to have a party line. Don't forget that. Remember the old days where the telephone was mounted on the wall and the thing would ring and you pick it up and it's like, Charlie, who? No, that's like, no, wrong line. You just pick up the phone nowadays, try to make a phone call, and you hear other people talking. It's like, what?
Yeah. So, I mean, now you have a special fancy app on your phone to get 5, 6, 8 people involved in conversation. When we grew up, that's what it was because you were all sharing the one phone line.
Exactly. So, you shared one line. That's right. There was a party. You didn't even want one sometimes. You got one. Yeah, Gen Z is different. Very, very different.
The last one is the Generation Alpha, born 2013, right up until now, Alpha. 2024. They're the first iPad and Instagram. Yeah, iPad and Instagram came to light while they were growing up. They're the first real screenager. Yeah. So Gen Z grew up with the internet, not as much with the phones, right? It was still on a computer. And it morphed in phones toward the later end of that generation, but they're not all phones. So the alpha guys are the ones that are screenagers. They're phone, grow everything on the phone. They are currently shaping the social media landscape. They are the current pop culture influencers and emerging consumers. Now, having said all that, what do you want to say about these consumers?
Because
Mama, buy me this.
I mean, come on. Gen Alpha is a bit still like less than 10 years old, right? So 13 and younger. So they're the kids of today and the future of tomorrow. Now, how will they grow up? That's a good point. Right now, it's all dependent on this guys, all these phones, and everything influences everything. And it's going to get more and more addictive because you're using it for everything. You're using it as a computer, using it to communication, using it as entertainment. It's everything. Okay. The problem is it influences you. It's influencers. They are becoming influencers because that's the trend. Is it good or bad? Good question. Not so sure. Some parts good, some parts bad.
Well, I mean, you see some things happening like...
Don't know how to answer that one.
There are now 12, 13, 14-year-old boys who are influencers who are scent experts.
Oh,
so cologne, telling you what colognes to buy. And they're and I mean, that's like, man, when I was growing up, when you were 14, your parents, they had a hard time to get you to have a shower and douse you down with Clorox. And now they got 14-year-olds who've got hundreds of dollars worth of cologne. And it's like, oh, okay. That's an interesting
Are you kidding? Really?
True story. Yeah.
I never heard of that one. Wow. Really?
But also,
maybe that's because they don't want to take a bath. It's like the old French style, right? Where they don't take a bath and they just throw cologne on.
There you go. Maybe, yeah, saving water.
No,
Environmentally
I
friendly.
think cologne. I'm
Yeah.
influencing.
But
Actually, I don't know.
here's an interesting thought, though. Here,
Cologne costs a lot.
you want to talk about going in circles, circle of life, or everything old is new again, or whatever. Go back to the greatest generation, born
true.
in 1901, right? Back then, if you were like a little kid, you were
Yeah.
working on the farm from the time you're 7 or 8, right?
Mhm.
I mean, it was not a pampered childhood existence for most kids, unless you were from a really wealthy
No.
family. Then it kind
Nope.
of drifted. It got better and better over the years, right? So kids were not working; they weren't as
Except for
not as
the Great
important to
Depression.
the. Yeah, but people were eating kids back then, so I think it's not the same. Kid soup. I don't know what they were doing.
You
Man. I
can't say
wasn't there.
that. No.
No, they weren't. No,
The
That's
kids
not what
would be
soup
goats.
kitchens
The
were?
little goats, the baby goats are called kids.
That's what do you think I was talking about.
You know.
What did I say?
Goats. the kids.
Okay, yeah, never mind that. But now go full circle. So we go say
So-
like the millennials were slackers and Gen Z depressed, blah blah blah. But come to this generation Alpha. You've been watching the Olympics just recently, right? So we talked about 14-year-old kids who were
Mhm.
influencers for something as expensive as cologne. 11-year-olds in the Olympics,
Mhm.
skateboarding and other events. So is it getting to be the point where kids are now like the great generation in the 1900s? Kids are now expected to grow up and be adult and contribute earlier than the previous generations. I was lucky. My generation, I didn't have to do shit.
That's a different viewpoint.
I didn't have to do shit, man. It was like, you're kind of expected to get kicked out of the house at 18, and you kind of usually did, but
Yeah.
up until then, you didn't have to do shit. And then nobody expected you to know what you were doing or achieve anything until you're in your 20s or 30s. So you didn't have to do shit till you're 30, really. I missed all that other bad. I didn't have to go to war, and I didn't have to work my ass off when I was a kid.
Out. Yeah. Yeah. I missed the war too. I was a bit right in that age when I was too old to go to Vietnam. Too young to go to Vietnam, and too old for the next one. So I kind of sat in that particular region. But if you're born a little bit earlier, you're off to war. So, no, I mean, baby boomers was, like you said, I think it's when the parents were having lots of sex because of all the war and shit, wanted to make the nation grow, so they had kids, So
that's why they were having sex, not because it was fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
have to
think it's
have more
fun.
sex. God damn it!
I'm good for it. Yeah. Have to have another kid. No. I mean, I did my part. We got about 5 of them or so, but
or so.
As far as I know. No, I'm just joking. This is a comedy, okay? But yeah, I think one of the key points now is how you live, how the different generations live. I mean, of course, the earlier versions were hardworking because they had to. I mean, times were tough, and a lot of agricultural, a lot of industry, and that kind of faded as it goes along through the systems because factories, industry kind of shifted out. So when it comes to the millennials, then factories are all going to Mexico, China, Philippines, Malaysia, Thailand, whatever, Korea, Taiwan. So the less and less industrial in USA and Canada, I'm sure. And so the work ethics are changed a lot. I mean, are you
hang on just a
especially
second,
millennials and Gen Z?
Sorry to interrupt you. Just 1 second. I just got to tell my 8-year-old gardener over there, you little fucker, you got working harder. You're too slow. Okay, sorry. Carry on. You were saying about Canada and the States, something.
Yeah, I think the idea that everybody's working differently now. I mean, the work ethics changing from very hardworking, labor oriented to much more trying to get ahead through education or how would you call it? Something less laborious, right? So, and that's where we have all the issues now with the immigration, right? And for us, Americans don't want to go pick cotton or pick fruits and vegetables and all that stuff. So you have a lot of immigration labor coming in to do some of these harder jobs, especially in the agricultural system. So, uh, what is the future of these younger generations versus ours? We're pretty much set in. We're not sure what we've done and stuff, but we just kind of lived through it and found jobs, go through education, some parts, do business, do whatever kind of work you had. So, but at the same time, prices were more reasonable. You can buy a house if you work good, had a decent job. The old days where you have a single earning family member, usually the husband earned everything, the wife and the kids just lived. You could live off one income. Today, difficult. I don't know if you find that kind of thing anymore. It's very rare. Difficult. What about Canada? True. Same.
Oh yeah, I mean the dream of home ownership is out of reach for, I'd say, millennials. Yeah, give you some examples. So kind of we'll mix some stuff up here. Like everyone in our generation was talking about millennials as being lazy because of what you just said, right? We don't see them out working the fields. We don't see them pitching in to do that kind of stuff. We kind of forget that we mostly didn't do that either in the baby boomers, right? We kind of avoided most of it. There's a lot of still factory work in our generation, but not as much grunting agricultural work. Right? Tractors were already a thing by the time we came around. It's going to be big ag.
Yeah. Right. You didn't have to get behind an ox and whip it.
Right. So you didn't see as much of that. But when I look at it, I see like both of my kids are, technically they're millennials, grown, born in that time. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at the years here. And yet they don't work in the fields, but they're hard working. They're all working. They work jobs and consulting and they're doing so much. They're working like 12-hour days. Not miserable about it because they're not behind a plow 12 hours, but they're putting in 12 hours, 6-7 days a week, doing lots of stuff. So not all millennials are lazy, but going to the home ownership part. So many of their friends, so we've got kind of a weird situation the way we do things here. We kind of, I guess it's like a multi-generational living. So rather than waiting until I kick off till I die and the kids can fight over who gets the house, we've done it a different way. We bought a bigger house with lots of space. And my wife and I put down a big chunk for the down payment, big chunk, so that it brought the mortgage payments down to an okay rate. And the kids have their own separate spaces and pay mortgage. So they're not living in my basement for free. I'm not living in their basement for free. Everyone's paying, right? So they're able to actually have a home base, and yet they also own their own little places elsewhere, and they can go off and do their own things, and they have a safety net, so all kinds of things. But their friends are all trying it the traditional way. So they, leave home when they're finally kicked out. They're trying to make it. They've all got the 2 incomes like you're talking about. They all still needed help from their parents for the down payment. So that's weird. If you're on your own and you have to say, "Mommy, please give me money. Daddy, please give me money," that's got to do something to your psyche already. I think about we couldn't do it on our own. And then they have almost all the money they have goes toward the mortgage on the little townhouse or little place they get. And they're miserable. Those houses own them because it's taking everything they've got. They can't go and do what they want to do. They can't travel. They can't go on vacation. They can't do a goddamn thing. That house is like an anchor. And it's like, I don't remember any of my friends feeling quite that same way, that the house was like a chain around your neck. It's like, well, no, you just bought a house because you're supposed to buy a house. So, it's kind of the way it went. And now it's like, oh, wow, no.
Sure.
And so they say, so rental is happening, but the rental rates are so much. Wow.
Yeah, the mortgage rates are also killing you. So if you can buy a house with a very, very low mortgage rate, that helps a lot. But as soon as that mortgage rate goes up, your price of house may be 40% more by the time you end up paying a 20, 30-year loan. Shit. But And the key point is not everybody's going for a house or doing renting as well, right? So if you're renting an apartment and you're earning money and you're paying rent, which you don't own the place, but at the same time, you're still paying maybe a bit less than a mortgage, but at the same time, you're paying everything else. It's still the same thing. At the end of the day, do you have money left over? Do you have a way to save money? And most kids, it sounds like, I mean, they don't. They're just basically living day to day. They have very little ability to save. And I don't know if younger kids have that ethic about savings. Again, the issue is in Asia, for example, we worked in Asia and stuff. There's a huge savings component in terms of life. You save your money and put it aside. Here in the West, mostly you're just saving, well, I can't save it because if I save it, I'm getting taxed for it. So I'm paying taxes on saving. And then so I'd rather invest, but invest in what? What do you invest? You can't invest in a house because you can't afford a house. So, which is one of the main investments. You buy a car, that's not an investment. That depreciates, right? Unless you buy a really old car and then build it up and then, that kind of stuff. But, okay, now the big thing is crypto. So that's new. All this shit's new. So can you invest in crypto? It's electronic money. Is it really something that appreciates? Maybe, maybe not. It's just something in the market. So we can
I
talk about crypto a little bit. But
I'm a real crypto fanboy myself. So I have a very biased view. That's why I try hard not to talk too much about it, because I'm such a fan that I could get people in trouble. Right? Say, hey, you gotta buy, and it goes up and it goes down, and people always buy it, and then when it goes down, they sell it because they panic and they lose their money, and it goes back up. And I don't want to be responsible for anybody.
Yeah, so I mean, they're
being unhappy, so I don't talk too much about it.
Yeah, for sure. So the key point is it is available and is considered an investment system. That's all I'm going to say at the moment. There are pros and cons to it. There's no doubt about it.
I've been working
kind of in that. Yeah. So now, other than that, what can you invest in? If you're stocks and stuff, I mean, the traditional thing, most young kids don't know about stocks. I mean, if you were, if we all 10 years ago threw some money in Apple or Tesla 10 years ago, holy shit, boom, we always say that. You should have done it. Damn, if I did it 20 years ago, should have done it, but didn't, same shit. And that could be the same thing for Bitcoin. If you put it in Bitcoin when it was $50, now it's worth what, 60. It varies between $30,000 to $60,000. It's like, holy shit, And it comes in that thumb drive. If you lose it, like in Big Bang Theory, oh, where's my thumb drive? It had 500 Bitcoin in there. It's like,
It's actually that's for me. That's one of the things that drives me nuts. I have some that I leave on the exchange where I buy it, but that's not safe. It can get stolen. And I've got some in what they call the cold wallet, right? So it's not connected to the internet, but that's where you need all your passwords and everything.
Yeah.
And I've got like 3 or 4 different ones, and I've got one thumb drive sitting there that I know I bought $500 worth of Bitcoin when Bitcoin was 19,000 Canadian at one point, some years back, right? So now it's like 80,000 Canadian or something. So that's what, $2,000 worth of money or something. I don't know what the password is. I don't fucking know. I lost it. I just sitting there looking at it like, you little fuck. I have no idea. And it's not like my dog is George. It's like a really long password. So it's like, fuck, it's just gone. It's just gone. It's not gone. It's in my hand, but it's gone. So that taught me. You got to
save your password somewhere.
In several places.
Oh, shit, man.
Yeah.
No. You don't want to do that. It's true.
But I'm not like that guy. Is it in England where the guy's hard drive is in the dump and they won't let him dig it out of the dump? I
haven't heard that one. That was a good one.
Oh no, this is actually this is not an internet story. This has been on enough news report. You see, the guy's been interviewed enough times. I'm sorry, I might get it wrong. It was England, might be the same, but I'm pretty sure it was actually in England. And this guy had hundreds of Bitcoin on his hard drive in his computer, hundreds. And Bitcoin back at the time, it dropped down to be like $3 each or something. So it was like, whatever the fuck, right? So
Yeah,
he just
that's when
no,
you're
he wasn't
mining
even
it.
mining
Yeah.
it. He wasn't mining it. He just happened that's where he was storing it. And I don't know why he threw it
Oh,
out.
okay.
The computer crashed or something, and it was like again, it was like Bitcoin had crashed. It was a couple of bucks. It was
Oh,
like it
man.
was nothing, right? So fuck it, he threw it out. And then
Yeah.
he's got like 300 Bitcoins. And it's in the hard drive. It's in that dump right there, and they
Oh,
won't let
no.
him dig because it's like no, you can't. It's like, it's
Somebody else is digging it out, I think.
but can you imagine if you're the guys when
Yeah,
when
they won't let them
early
dig
days
because
of
they're digging it.
Bitcoin? Yeah, there someone else dug it. Huh? But
Oh,
the early
yeah.
days of Bitcoin, when people were like buying pizza for like 3 Bitcoin, 4 Bitcoin for a pizza, it was just like a
Yeah,
fun
yeah.
thing to do. Can you
Yeah.
imagine now? You look back, and I bought 30 pizzas
Yeah.
during that year, and I spent I don't know about 800 Bitcoin to buy pizza. It's like, fuck, you spent $1 million on pizza in a year?
It better be damn good.
Hope it was good. It was Domino's. Sorry, Domino's.
It's
If
Domino.
Domino's wants to sponsor,
That's
I'll
why
retract
Domino's
that
is
statement.
successful.
Yeah, just that. No other
Oh
reason.
man, that's how they became successful.
Well,
oh man,
what is it? The
but yeah, I
USA.
mean, okay. So how? Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
The USA
Go
currently
ahead.
owns 21.6 million Bitcoins. Or no, sorry. Wait, what? 21 million is the total Bitcoins. They have 2.16 million or something from seizures from drug dealers and stuff back in the day. So the states,
Oh wow,
the American government has a huge cache of Bitcoin.
wow. Okay.
So current value is something
Did
like
not know that.
20 something billion worth of Bitcoin. 2 billion or 20 billion. See, internet, right? You listen to me on internet. What does it mean? It was either
Yeah, for America, it's nothing.
I think it's 20 billion because people are saying, "Oh, it's fantastic," but then they say, "Yeah, but we got like 50 trillion in debt coming up soon." So what's that? That's not
Yeah,
even 2 days worth of
exactly.
interest.
It's nothing. Yeah,
But,
exactly. I mean,
so
it's
there you go. It goes back to like, okay, you're a millennial. You're trying to rent.
Mhm.
You're okay. You're now probably in your 30s, so you're just about getting set in your career. You're just starting to make money for the first time ever, really.
Yeah.
But you're in Canada or the
Yeah.
States in a reasonable sized city where it's so expensive that you have to
Mhm.
just rent, and it's taking all your money. I mean, like here in the Vancouver area, minimum wage works out to a little over 3,000 Canadian a month, something like that. And a 1-bedroom apartment in the area is about 2,400 a month. So that leaves you 600
it's
bucks
about
to
like 80% of your income.
yeah. And the old rule of thumb forever was
And that's
30% ish, right? 30%
yeah, it
of your
should be
income
about
for
30.
rent or
Yeah,
mortgage.
exactly.
In Canada, you
So
can't do that
no,
anywhere.
that's bad.
You go to
That's
some
not
dinky
good.
little town where it's super
So
cheap. There's
that
no
means
job.
have
You
to
have
live
no
with
income.
Yeah, that's terrible. So what are the kids supposed to do? I mean, it's disheartening that the economy itself and the prices itself have outpaced whatever they can earn, right? But that's not only here. Okay, if we we look globally as well, but it's really not good here. It's very disheartening. Then the young people are just kind of pissed off that they can earn like 60,000 over a year, but still can't really afford anything. They still can't buy a house or something. If you earned 60,000 a year 20 years ago or 15 years ago, no problem to put a down payment and buy a house. But now, holy shit. But just think, if you look at Japan, Korea, and even China now, I mean, these other countries are also getting astronomically expensive. And the people are earning a bit of money, but not enough to really own some. I mean, Japan, holy shit, housing in Japan, unless you really go in the countryside, there's no way. I mean, you have a tiny little flat. Hong Kong, right? China now also, Shenzhen, the housing is nuts in prices. It has skyrocketed so much, unless you go somewhere interior, right? And then you might be able to find something. But most countries, I think Europe is the same. I mean, the housing over there is also quite expensive. So what I think it's more universal. It's not just something in the West only. It's kind of global in many respects.
I think it's
until you go down to different countries like maybe Mexico or South America.
Well, even there, it's it's all about economic winners and losers, right? So you go to somewhere like You go to Portugal,
Mm.
right? Outside of the handful of the main cities and the most expensive tourist areas,
Mm-hmm.
you've got great deals on real estate. Even in the expensive places, it's great compared to Canada or the States.
Okay.
But an average wage in
Okay.
in Portugal is like 700 euros a month, so $1,000 less Canadian dollars, like $1,000. So your real estate is cheaper, but your wages are so much cheaper. It's the same problem there. So now we have this new digital nomad lifestyle.
Yeah.
What we've been living for 30 years, right? But it's now a new thing where you have your work somewhere, you're paid from somewhere, but you can do your work anywhere.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you're lucky enough
That's something
to
new.
get like USA or even Canadian wages in a position that can be remote, that's going to be a white collar job, right? You can't be a remote farmer or a remote plumber. You got to be a white collar job. And they usually pay okay.
Remote watermelon farmer.
Yeah. So you go back to that $60,000 you're talking about. So $60,000 in Vancouver, it's true, man. You could maybe rent a basement suite in someone's house, but you're not getting ahead, and that's it. But you get your 60 grand and you go to Portugal, go to Mexico. Great. You can live a fantastic life there. But what that does, it drives up the real estate prices in those places. So the guys who are there, who are at that level of income, get priced out of their markets. Right? So it's like, oh, there's no reason for my little city in Mexico to be getting more expensive because wages haven't gone up. No reason for it. But all of a sudden, you got 15% of the population is expat remote workers driving the prices up. Airbnb, whatever, going up. Now it's like, so it's a thing. I guess the simple answer is to be born into a rich family.
I don't know if that works. You can't really choose when you're a little sperm going in. It's like, is this rich or I don't think that works that way.
Nope.
No.
That's
luck of the draw. No, I'm going the other way.
No, you take this one.
But I mean, okay, there's a lot into this now. We're getting into a lot of whole areas that we can explore. I just want to try and bring it back to the fundamentals of, okay, when you're young and your parents go, oh, you should go to college, earn good money and stuff. And then you come out of college and a lot of people have these degrees that aren't worth crap. Sorry. I mean, you study these odd things that there's nobody who wants to employ you for, European Celtic studies or something like that. You just can't, get a job. Like, who wants that? The other thing is the cost of education now is ridiculous. Holy shit. You can go, so many people had so much debt in going to college. If you're going to med school, you can crank out a couple $100,000 worth of debt. But at the same time, after mid school, you'll probably make several $100,000 quite easily. But other professions, you will not. And so is it more advantageous just to go the vocational route? Yeah, I'm going to repair cars, or I'm going to be an electrician or something. And, the prices of handyman and all this kind of stuff and electricians and certified vocational guys, they're earning pretty good, but they don't have any debt burden, right? They just go out and they start earning money. So you have two competing issues.
I think that's probably tied into something we talked about earlier too, about how the manufacturing base has hollowed out, which is probably why less people are going to school for the trades, because you're assuming there's no factory going to hire me. But we have a huge problem here, and I'm sure most places in the States are the same. Exactly what you're saying. We don't have the tradespeople now. Welders can make 150 grand easily working on a construction site in Vancouver because there are no welders.
Right.
And it's like when used to be welding was a standard thing. When I went to school, they taught everybody how to weld. Maybe you didn't become an expert, but it was one of the things you learned in shop. Now, no. Yeah.
And there's that old joke, what scares a doctor more than anything? is a plumber. So, I mean, that's one of the
It's
old
true.
jokes. But there's a truth to that joke, you know? So, plumbers can earn quite a bit of money. And what are you doing, you know? So, especially if you're not just a plumber, but if you own a plumbing company, and then you're hiring a bunch of guys to do the plumbing for you, but the guys are earning money as a plumber. They're kind of earning, I mean, these guys tend to earn what, about 20 to 30 bucks an hour, 40 bucks maybe, something per hour. And minimum wage is about what, 12 to 15 over here, somewhere like that.
Yeah, I think
So
you
you are
actually
earning
have
about
to.
double the minimum wage.
Yeah, you have to look at yourself, right?
But is that enough?
So, well, that's the thing. Yeah, but
Yeah.
you have to look at yourself. Like, are you? The fact that you don't want to go to college to learn some higher degree, are you not going to trade school because you feel you're lesser somehow because you didn't go the higher education road? If that's the case, what's making you feel like that, and why should anything make you feel like that? Because you said you start at 20, 30 bucks an hour. You're going to, even if you never work your way up to manager, you're just working as a plumber. In a couple of years, you're making 50, 60 bucks an hour in a couple of years' time. And if that's you, if you're happy to work that way, buy yourself a nice little house somewhere. If your idea of a great time is to have a barbecue with your buddies on Friday night, what is wrong with that? What is wrong with that? Not everybody needs to be whatever. It's like whatever works for you. Because it's true. The amount of money you can make welding or plumbing, plumbing is pretty much recession proof. Welding, I guess it goes in boom and bust cycles with construction as well, I suppose, like anything. But white collar jobs boom and bust with the economy. So, I don't know, man. I sometimes think that
that's right.
It's just
that's
like
right.
sometimes
Plus
you'll
a
see
lot
like,
of white.
Sorry, go ahead. Okay, I'll go ahead. It's like sometimes you'll see like a place that someone has for rent, and it's vacant for a long time because they're looking for so much money, even more than market rate, or there's something wrong with the place or location, and they'll leave it empty for 6 months, a year, 18 months, 2 years, blah blah blah. I got places like that near me.
Yeah.
The rents are so crazy around here, and yet there are places that are empty, and they won't take a little bit lower price to get even for a shorter term contract. And I wonder if in life it's like that too. If you graduate and you're holding out to, I want to start in a corner suite office somewhere. It's like, you got to be willing to work your way up. So you've done your whole schooling thing, this la-di-da degree. You're expecting to make $100,000. You don't get it. It takes longer and longer before you start. Then it takes time to build up. Your buddy Johnny graduated. He's a plumber or a welder, and he's making like $70,000 a year from day one. It takes you 10 years to catch up with Johnny, and then maybe you can go faster than Johnny, or maybe you don't. Maybe you end up serving Johnny French fries. You know? So I don't know.
Oh, that's true. I mean, a lot of people go to college. It's not true. This is very, very true. That a lot of people go to college, get a degree, and never work in that field. They work in some other field, or go into restaurants or wait tables or whatever. I mean, they might be studying something totally different, biology, and end up being a waiter and managing a restaurant or some shit, or owning a franchise like a Subway or something. Okay. But, some of that might be okay. But, if you carry along a huge college debt and then turn around and, manage a Subway somewhere, that's not exactly what you're really looking. You don't need a college degree to go manage a Subway. I mean, you can do that through some basic courses or whatever, the community college or some shit like that.
Right.
And I think this is the issue between the millennials. I think the millennials were really oriented towards still college, because baby boomers, probably not so many of us went to college, right?
But there's
a smaller percentage of the baby boomers. And everybody, we're pushing the kids to go to college, whether you like it or not. You're going to do this. It's like okay, but now the prices are going nuts in college, and the colleges themselves are going nuts. So they have all these protests and guys sitting on the lawn in tents and shit about Palestine and all kinds of stupid shit, and not going to school. You're paying these guys what, 20,000 a semester, or 10,000, 20,000 a semester, and you're sitting on a freaking lawn in a tent. What? You go camping for that. I mean, you go out in the woods and camp. We did that in Salt Springs. I mean, you don't need to do that at Harvard or Princeton. I mean, come on. If my kid would do that at Harvard, I'd kick his ass out faster than anything.
You can do it, no problem, but you pay for it. But you are, even
exactly.
If they are,
you pay for your tent. You pay for
that time.
Pay for your college.
If you have a loan, it's true. What if you got a loan, and your 7 days of protest on the front lawn there probably cost you like, I don't know, $6,500 worth of time that you paid for, and you're going to have to take 8 years to pay that off.
Yeah.
Protest
That's
on the weekends or in the summer.
And then, of course, the government's talking about. Yeah, we're gonna protest in the bar. If the beer is warm, we'll protest.
Yep.
Need cold beer. Other than that, I never got into protesting. You can be for or against an issue, but to be that hardcore where you're running around protesting it, and I mean, protest is, if there's something really wrong, I'd like what's going on in the UK and stuff. Yeah, I mean, there's going to be protests, and that's fundamental. But for things that are like, I'm sorry, for me, I don't give a shit. When it comes to Palestine and it's so far away and you really have nothing directly associated with you, Vietnam is different. Vietnam, we were in a war, right? They were actively going into war. So you could protest the idea of going to war. But you're just protesting for the sake of protesting.
You're protesting the idea of someone else going to war.
Parents' money or whatever.
Yeah, you're protesting the idea of someone else going to war.
I was like, okay, I don't like it, but what the hell? Yeah, I mean, it's a bit odd. So, but okay, now the next one is this Gen Z. We didn't talk about Gen Z yet, right? Gen Z. Yep. Now, I hired some Gen Z people, and most of my staff are either millennial or Gen Zs, and some are okay, but generally I find the work ethic to be lacking at the moment. And this is not in US. This is globally. This is in Asia. So I understand the idea of Gen Z is that they expect a lot more out of life quickly. They think there's a lot of concept that they deserve more. Okay, I'm out. I'm here. I have the ability to work. I know everything about TikTok. I know everything about Instagram. Give me a job. It's like, what? I mean, even if you graduate high school, go into college and expect $100,000 a year job. No, it doesn't work that way. And are you really committed? And one of the things my son mentioned is that he sees the millennials, and I totally agree, much more committed to working hard for a company versus like a Gen Z that expects the company to just give them. And if they don't like it, they'll just hop companies from company to company, hoping that the next company will give them more wages than the first company. All right. That's what I understand. That's not from me. That's actually from my kid who's working in that. And he is a millennial.
Yeah, I think it's when you look at it.
And California is not a cheap place.
Yeah, well, I mean, you look at the millennials, they were the ones who grew up with 9/11, Iraq, and Afghanistan as their defining events in their lives.
Yeah.
So for them to understand that the world is not a rainbow unicorn place, that's why they're depressed all the time. But they understand. They see, in general, they've seen that life is not all just sunshine and rainbows. Whereas the Gen Zs have not really. Yeah. I mean, we've got now the Ukraine invasion and the Palestine-Israel thing going on, which are horrible things, but they're not as directly related to the States anyway as Afghanistan, 9/11, and
or Canada,
and Iraq were, or Canada, right, for North Americans. Yeah. So they haven't quite seen that, and I wonder. This is something I'm sure a million people have studied this, but. When you see they grew up, the Gen Zs with the whole Instagram generation, right? And I wonder if part of it is that following those influencers. So the Kardashians, right? You're following so many people who are
Oh,
rich
God.
and famous just for being rich and famous.
For showing
right?
their butts.
Yeah, there's no other nice
Yeah.
spots, some of them.
True.
But there's no other reason. So they just became famous
come
for
on.
being famous. And I wonder if you see that
Yeah.
all day, every day, from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed, you see hundreds of people who
Mm.
are walking on the beach talking about how much money they make driving Maseratis for
Yeah.
doing for posting or whatever. I wonder if that does influence you. It's like that's what
Yeah.
you grew up seeing, so that's your norm. That's what you've seen, right?
Mhm.
It's not weird for them to think that that's the way it should be, because that's what they see every day. It is that way, so it should be that way for me too.
Yeah. Right. I think. Yeah.
Matter
I
of
think
fact, I think they're right.
influencing influencers.
As a matter of fact, I just realized we think they're right too. We think we should get money just for being online.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're actually Gen Zs.
We're
at heart.
influencing. But what?
Gen Z at heart. There you go.
Okay.
Here's to the Gen Zs. Love you guys.
Well, yeah, we But I don't know. Yeah, I mean, the idea is that they're trying things. That's true. Okay. One of my kids is on doing Minecraft. He loves Minecraft, right? So then he posted a number of things on YouTube as Minecraft, and he had pretty good audience and pretty good following, 100,000 views over that kind of stuff or whatever. And he actually monetized. We aren't monetized yet. We're doing this for fun and giggles and for beer.
Yeah.
But but we understand, in our generation, we understand a lot of hard work goes into this. I mean, to actually developing a business, developing a platform, developing all this, it's a lot of hard work. And actually, most real stars have gone through that. They pulled their dues, they call it, right? They don't just say, I'm going to be an instant overnight success. No, you're usually instant overnight success, and a couple of weeks later, you're a failure because you can't maintain that, right? You go start with 1 million views for something like, oh yeah, remember this one, Miss Haktua. Oh, remember her? Come on, man. Haktua, you've heard of her, right? You never heard of that? Oh, come on. You Canadians aren't on the internet.
What's the internet? The internet?
Some girl. What's that? No, some girl went up, and there was just a simple, stupid thing. Some guy was interviewing a couple of girls, and they were like out for the night, some party girls or something. And this girl just said on the mic, yeah, you got to hook to it, that thing, you know? It was like, you know, she was referring to a sexual thing, right? Okay. Sexual orientation. All right. And they were partying and stuff. And that just viral just went, millions. And it's like, I don't know why, but so it became an overnight success. Now she has no idea how to maintain that, right? She maintained it for maybe a month or something. Now you don't hear of her. And probably another 2 months, you'll never hear of it again. You didn't even hear of her.
No. Well, just like,
an instant overnight success.
Yeah,
but again.
Yeah, like Mr. Beast. Everyone knows Mr. Beast, right? And Mr. Beast, overnight success, took him 8 years. 8 years. He kept grinding and grinding and grinding and grinding and grinding until he started to get a little bit of viewership, a little more. Then he started to monetize. Then he started to get sponsored. And now with that going, he's doing bigger and bigger things, right? But it took him 8 years.
Yeah.
I think
he actually did a lot of stuff too.
Yeah, I think maybe
he was digging wells in Africa.
Yeah.
So he was doing a lot of charity work, and some other organizations were all pissed at Mr. Beast because he got a lot of credit for doing his work, but he was funded, and he did a lot of good work too. But I mean, he's got some chocolates. I don't know exactly what he does so much. I'm not really, except for the chocolates, they're pretty good, but not as good as New Zealand chocolate. Sorry. I'm a big fan of New Zealand. Mr. Beast, nothing wrong. They're good. But
they're good.
Other than that, what does Mr. Beast do? I'm not really that up to it.
Oh, he does. He does all kinds of stunts. He'll do anything.
Yeah, that's right.
Here's
I remember one where they put people in a house or something, and said, okay, you're going to stay in this house for like 1 month, and then they would come in and offer you something, and then take your money away. If you got this, you got like $50,000 for 1 month, or more than that,
Yeah,
something
just stuff like that. Or
and then
even
they said, well,
sometime we'll
we'll
do
give
like,
you this thing, and it will take 10,000. I remember.
yeah, or even little things like, oh, here's eating the world's most expensive pizza. Okay. Or
Okay.
like $1 million giveaway. If you do this, there's $1 million for you. Or just, bigger and bigger
Wow.
and bigger events where it costs a lot of money, but it brings in much more money than
Okay.
that. And obviously you cannot do $1 million
Okay.
event until you have $1 million or sponsors or
A few
something like
million
that,
dollars.
right? You launch that way.
Yeah. Right.
Sometimes it works though. Like when I launched my furniture business in Malaysia, I took a big chance. It paid off. It could have killed me when I chartered those 2 airplanes and brought all those customers across from Europe to come in to a brand new company. Whew, they bought enough.
Wow.
They bought enough to pay the tickets off,
Wow.
but it might not have worked. I should have waited 8 years. It would have
Okay.
been way safer.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. That's a gamble. Yeah.
That was a gamble.
So I think Gen Z, they're starting at a difficult level, because I think one of the problems is, okay, we as baby boomers teach our kids to try to have a work ethic of some kind, right? So those would be the millennials. So even though they're brought up with much, much less laborish kind of work. I mean, shit, I told everybody, and and I put this on the podcast how many times, is when I was a teenager and I had my summer job in some little town in Pennsylvania, I was shoveling shit for a week, over a 10-foot wall. And I did it just because my uncle gave me this job. And it was a minimum wage was less than $2 an hour. It's like, okay, there's not many people can say that too much. A lot of people shovel shit if you're in a farm, or you have a ranch or stuff. And then you go in, and the story is funnier because I was shoveling shit all my life. I mean, even my PhD, I was still shoveling shit. So, but the work ethic of younger people, they don't have that experience, and they don't understand that kind of experience of saying, I got to do it. I got to do it. It's like, I'm supposed to do it, but I don't want to do it. That's a different attitude. I'm going to do it because I have to do it. But I don't want to do it. And then they don't really try to do it, or they try to pal out.
Yeah. Why should I have to do it? Well, I mean, one thing though, here's interesting to talk about. So they have the Gen Zs have the least positive outlook on the future and the highest prevalence of mental illness.
Okay.
Now, is that, why is that? Is that because they see that there is no hope? I can't get a house? Is it because we talk about, now here's a weird one, like mental illness, right?
Yeah.
I believe if you've got an issue, you should be able to get help for the issue. But I feel almost like the pendulum has maybe swung too far when people are being convinced they have mental illness when it's maybe just a life challenge, right? So, I mean, when they have the highest prevalence of mental illness, is that because mental illness has, like a pandemic, has taken over, it's grown? Is it because you see the economic issues? Is it because people are telling you? I don't know. Have you ever met a crazy person? They can drive you fucking nuts too, man. But
okay, that's a good point.
Wait. Sorry, that sounded. Wait, I meant that, but not only that.
Be real.
Not only that. Oh boy! Wow, how to say that? I mean, you get people who are like, they're unstable, and dealing with them can make you pretty uptight too. I don't mean someone who's actually in an institution has a real issue, but there are. I've come to believe that there are people out there who do have mental issues that we didn't really talk about before. I mean, I meet a lot of people in my normal hobby job there with my store. And you realize there are a lot of people out there who are operating on a different operating system than the rest of us. There truly are. There truly are. But is it like the Gen Z where everything that happens to you is not a challenge? It's like, I've got a mental illness now. I
No.
don't mean to
Okay.
belittle
There
it,
is
but
something.
I do think it should be discussed.
No. Okay. My one of my kids is still in high school, right? So he would be the Gen Z. So, and I asked him about it. I was like, all these kids are talking about, oh, LGBTQTRSQ, pi squared, whatever the hell those things are. And then I asked him, is there a lot of this kind of stuff going on in your school? And he said, nah, maybe about 15 to 20%. Well, what? In my day, it was like 0.1%. It's like one or two kids would do that. And then the rest are just normal kids, in my day. So out of the whole high school, we have 1,500 people in my high school. I could see maybe, three or four guys having issues, but not something like 10% or something. I mean, that are more identifying as either a gay or bisexual. I mean, these are young kids, high school age. I mean, come on, man. There's something trending that's wrong. Sorry, I don't give a shit. I feel heterosexual is a natural thing. Being gay, okay, it can be. We expect that. If that's you, fine. But to have that increase in the number of people or the percentage of people identifying as this, something's triggering that. Is it something in the water, something in the food, or is it
Well, I
this
mean, yeah,
influence, or just
part of it will
social media?
be.
What could do that?
I mean, part of it. I don't know what the numbers should be, but part of it will be when there's more acceptance. People are not as afraid that come out is going to ruin their life. Okay, so that should come up to whatever the natural level is. I don't know, is 1%, 3%, 200%. I don't know what the level is, but it should come to that. But beyond that, it's like, I'm a real advocate for saying when you're in college now, you're 18, you're 20, whatever, you're old enough to vote, buy a gun, drink, whatever. You're old enough to you've seen now 18 or 20 years of your life. You know that whatever you went through was either a phase or it's really you. You know by now. And if it's really you, carry
Sure.
on.
That's different.
But when you're a kid, you don't know.
Agreed.
I'm not just talking about
if
your
you're that age,
orientation.
right.
I'm talking about like
Exactly.
anything. You don't know yet. That's all.
Right. Correct. Yeah, correct. And I think this is another issue that is coming along for young people, whether it's a millennial or a Gen Z, is relationships themselves, right? Social media. You're on this thing all the time. You can get on chat groups and whatever, right? You don't really know these people. You talk to people and stuff on these things, but you don't physically know them. Where the social interaction of them. Now, when it comes to like boyfriend, girlfriends, and marriages and stuff, my kid was saying, his friends, yeah, they had to get married, so they got married somewhere in their 20s, and already within so many years, they're already divorced. They actually went and tried to buy a house or got a house, and then they're already splitting the assets. And it's like, or if there is any assets, or they just owe the bank. And so the what do you call it? Exactly, splitting the debt. So the idea of the sanctity of, and what do you call it, the traditional values or the expectation of being together for a long time isn't there anymore. And I read somewhere on the internet, so it has to be true, is that is like the average expectancy is about, for a couple that marry and all this, it's like only 8 years now. It was like, used to be 50-50 chance. It used to be like, or the old days, it was like 80-90% chance you marry and die together or whatever. And then it got dropped, and now it's about 50-50. Now it's like every 8 years, only 8 years. It's like, wow, this is terrible.
Job hunting.
It's not getting better. It's definitely something wrong. Job hunting. Job hopping, wife hopping, girlfriend hopping, I don't know. But the idea is that it's really the ability of what would you expect in the future if you have no idea what to expect of the future. How do you expect to live it, your present, into what you want to do for the future? Very philosophical bullshit, huh?
It is. It's just like, so back in the day, you got married and divorce had such a stigma. You would live partially in misery, and it became easier to divorce, less of a stigma. So
Yeah.
more people were getting happy that way. Personally, like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I'm stuck now, I'm free. But on the other hand, as you say, it's like, well, the
Mm-hmm.
stability and everything of that also was much lessened. So a lot more kids were growing up in single parent households or swapping back and forth between parents,
Correct.
which also lost its
Correct.
stigma. But I'm sure there have been a billion studies on this too. Like, does that feed into this whole Gen Z, you say, highest prevalence of mental illness because a higher percentage than ever before grew up in single family
Yeah.
homes or going back and forth, or maybe they're happier because the parents were fighting all the time.
I don't like the term. Yeah. One of the terms I don't like is mental illness. A lot of times it could just be anxiety of some kind of uncertainty, actually, of what's going to happen and stuff. So that is difficult for younger people, young children, to be in a household that you don't know what the hell's going on. And I think one of the problems they talk about in the Black community is that there was a destruction of the family values and the family itself, that you have a huge problem in single parented families and a lot of communities. And it's more prevalent, I understand, in the Black communities over others. Now, why? Not so sure, but it seems to be where a mother might have 3 kids and it might be 2 different, still be single and have 2 different fathers, or maybe even 3. You don't know. And it's on a social welfare state. It's not good. So that security, that uncertainty of life and what's going to happen, it has to affect the young people. It has to affect their idea of what they want to do, what they want to be, and can they work their way out of it, or they're stuck in the system, right? And it's not good.
Yeah, but again, that kind of comes back to it's a problem. Yes. It's a challenge. Yes. It needs fixing. They need help. Yes. Is it mental illness? Is it mentally ill to think that your life has got challenges because of things happened? No, it's pretty normal, healthy reaction to be stressed out by that, I would think. Again, just opinions. Again, if you're going to make nasty comments to us about what we're saying, you're more than welcome. Just try and make them as funny as you can.
Please. Exactly. As funny as possible. That's one thing about this particular episode. It's not too funny.
Yeah, it's not funny.
It's like, I
don't like it.
I don't like it. Sucks, We're talking about life, and life is depressing.
Oh, no, why? Here. Oh, yeah.
Beer makes it life happy.
We can pull this back together because we talked about this, I think maybe last time, that younger people are drinking less beer than ever before. And there's your tie-in.
Oh,
right?
that's
Gen
right.
Z is the least positive outlook on the future.
There it is.
Highest prevalence of mental illness. Drink less beer than previous generations.
And they drink the least amount of beer.
All true. Yes. There you go.
So, as wise old bastards and beer hunters, I think we encourage more and more people to drink beer. But drink responsibly and drink legally, okay? Those are those little things we have to put in the podcast. Drink legally, responsibly, but have a beer. Cheers.
Let me just say, I want you to drink beer, but I'm not legally responsible for what you do. So there you go. That's what we're trying to say. No.
True.
But no, but hang on, go back to that for a second. That is actually true. This is like wise old bastard advice, though. When you're younger and you do drink, if you're a drinker, you will drink to excess. It's going to happen. Just make sure you're not driving or anything stupid like that.
Yeah,
it'll happen. But you'll start, unless you do have an issue with it, you'll start to realize that there are limits. Whatever your limit is, 1, 2, 3, 58, whatever your limit is, you have that number of beers. It makes you happier and happier and happier until it doesn't. And if it doesn't, you hit that limit. Why would you carry on? What's the point? It's not a contest.
Yeah,
drinking should be true. You enjoy it. It's not a contest because you won't win.
In the morning, it will definitely not make you happy. Exactly.
What was it? Someone said to me
It'll beat your butt.
Once. Yeah. No,
you wake up in unusual places you don't expect, right?
if drinking alcohol is a contest, alcohol will always win.
Yeah.
It will always
You'll lose.
Yes, you'll lose.
That's right. That's
Right.
true. That's
So,
true.
Drink
You're
as much as
definitely-
makes you
that's true.
happy and
But-
is not creating a problem for you or anybody else.
I think
It's
we
fine.
stumbled on something as wise old bastards and beer hunters. You know, beer is good for life. Good is part of life. It's good for health. It's good for your many elements and good for anxiety. Just within what do you
Reason.
call it? Within control. Don't get out of control. Right. Enjoy life. Drink some beer. Have a good life. Look always positive. Don't look at the negative shit. You know. Look at the
And now
positive.
we have to
stuff
end this session
of-
because I need to go get a
life.
beer.
Where
Mine's
you
dry.
gonna go?
Mine's dry. Mine's dry.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Mine's
need-
gone too. Mine's empty too. So
I gotta go. Whoa, 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 whoa. Rumpusai
Cheers,
is going
everybody.
nuts. All right. We shall catch you next
Rumpusai.
time with. It'll be funnier next time, we promise. And you know how we know we can promise that? Because this one wasn't funny. So the next one, it's a low bar to beat. See you all next time.
Enjoy.
Bye, everybody.
Adios.